deal. Like, first of all, thank you for coming on to talk about this, because I'm sure it's a little odd to talk to a man about IVF treatments and pregnancy woes, but I have been a part of such before. I have impregnated a person and been privy to the process and
yes.
the highs and lows and ups and downs.
It's
but
a process.
I really do not know anything about the IVF process, and it's one of these things that I think, like many people, I kind of anytime it comes up in conversation, I kind of feign my way through it, just being like, oh, I know it's a long, arduous process. It's very expensive. Yeah. But I really don't know the ins and outs of it at all. So,
but it's also like not your fault. Like nobody that actually has ever had to go through this. Like, I think even if you ask Robbie, that is my husband, people listening, like if you ask Robbie, even though we've been going through this process for 3 years, any part of it, he'd be like, I came in a cup. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's not like he would have no fucking idea what exactly this process is. Because first off, they don't really teach you, even though I feel like because of just life in general, people are having kids later, which kind of puts people more in this bracket of having to use science and doctors to have babies. And also just like so much that we eat and ingest in our daily life affects our fertility that we're not told about. So it is kind of something that like you don't know about it until you're going through it. And even me having gone through it, there's still parts where somebody was like, what was your transfer protocol? And I'm like, and it was in July, and I'm like, fuck, what medications did I take? Like, it kind of all blurs because it's so much that I think it's hard to remember things, and it's hard to have for anybody that's not going through it to know about it, because even sometimes people ask me questions. I'm like, I don't remember. There's something like that, it's intense. So it's not your fault that you have no idea at all.
Yeah, you really do have
to.
You really do have to compartmentalize that information, and when it's not valid anymore, get rid of it, right?
It's gone.
You only have so much space in the hard drive.
Well, it's also like that thing they say, as I talk a lot about how now that I am pregnant, I feel it's been pretty, like my body is really like, this is why we were trying to protect you from this. My body was like,
you thought you wanted this, huh?
You forced this on us. We did not consent to getting pregnant. But like, it is crazy now being pregnant with how crazy awful that feels. But they say that's where I was going with this, that they say that once the baby comes out, like we're conditioned to not remember anything that we went through so that we will keep procreating. So I'm just wondering if it's the same kind of mental thing for IVF, that it's like we're just programmed to not remember 5 years of fucking shots and procedures, because then you get pregnant and you're like, okay, I don't remember, So it could be something like that. But it is
it's like the little red light thing in Men in Black, just erase your memory.
You're done. So you can
power
once
through.
The hormones, except for it's just hormones, and it's just the tears that you cry while you watch Great British Bake Off. It just wipes your memories clean. But it is like, it's like science is wild. First off, it's like crazy that literally a man named Peter Klatsky made me a baby somewhere in Manhattan and then put it into me, and now it's my baby. Do you know?
Peter
Klatsky
is your doctor?
I have sent half of New York's female comedians to this man. If you are in New York and you need a baby, go see Klatsky. He's the best. He was really cool.
Wow. All right, so hold on. Let's backtrack for 1 second here. So when did you know that you wanted to have a baby, and when did it really kick into high gear where you're like, because you're a working comedian, you're a hilarious, very active comedian, so this is something that I'm sure you really had to kind of grapple with in terms of, can I sustain a career while doing this? I mean, we all do, we all have needs and desires outside of, well, I shouldn't say we all do. A lot of us have needs and desires outside of comedy, hopefully.
Many of us have dreams and hobbies and goals in life, yes.
But it's a difficult thing to juggle. So I'm sure that you probably may have wanted this for a while, but how did you kind of grapple with the whole process of, I want this, how's this going to interfere with my comedy career? Can I juggle this? And when did it really kick into high gear where it was something that was undeniable that you couldn't put off any longer?
Well, I mean, I've wanted kids since I was like 10. So like my whole life has been like, I never, even when I got into comedy, even in my life, I mean, there's definitely times where like, I think like I couldn't have been a mother in my 20s. Even in my early 30s, even when we started this process, I was still like going to Patty's and blacking out, being like, I just want to be a mom. And people were like, maybe put down the fireball, you know? But I had always, it was never a question for me of if I was or wasn't going to do it. I had always wanted to be a mom, but once I hit, you know, and me and Robbie didn't start dating. I mean, we were in our 30s, you know, I'm 40 now. And let me see, we were together 8 years. So yeah, we started dating at like 32, 33. And then we started trying when I was 35, because it was kind of like, even though we weren't even like engaged or anything like that, because this was always it was always something I wanted. It's funny, I never really even took into consideration like my quote unquote career when I was doing this. And then it actually, you know, through going through all this, I wrote an hour on infertility, which then now that kind of feels like it almost like helped play a part of this. And then it's also, I think sometimes when you have something that big going on, comedy doesn't feel as life or death. So it actually, I feel like made my comedy, I got a lot more loose because I was focusing so much on this other thing that I really started to feel better about my stand-up. So it all kind of held hands with each other in a weird way. But I will say the first couple months when I was sick, like comedy was like the last thing I wanted to do. And I found out I was pregnant while I was in Scotland doing the Fringe Festival, where you do an hour for a month straight. And I was doing my hour on trying to get pregnant while I found out I was pregnant and feeling so sick. So it's all been this weird thing that has been so connected that it never felt like it was never going to be part of each other, you know? And it's like, But I will say, yeah, when I was really sick, I was like, and I'd have spots, I didn't want to do them. And you really kind of go, oh, comedy, it all kind of doesn't feel as important.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, I have no idea how I'm going to feel when the baby's here. Like, I don't know. I still like doing comedy. I'm still very excited about being a mom, and I have no idea what's going to happen after that. I mean, maybe I become a mom, like one of those like mom comics is like, you ever have a baby that's like, wah, wah, you know, like, I don't know. I might become that person, and that will just be an evolution, you know, that'll just be what happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's very clear that you're not somebody who hides behind a certain persona on stage. You are very much yourself. You talk about whatever you're thinking about or dealing with in that moment. I mean, I think you're very true to yourself and honest on stage more than a lot of comics, I would say. And I think what's really cool is the fact that, myself included, I'm working on this show now about my Jehovah's Witness upbringing, and I have not been a part of Jehovah's Witnesses for 20 years, but it has taken me 20 years to be able to kind of look at things objectively and find the funny in something that was really kind of a traumatic experience that I was really kind 100%. Of in denial of and wanted to just move on from and just forget about and just live a normal life. But you are talking about this and doing a show about this in real time. So the whole idea of tragedy plus time equals comedy, you're like, no, tragedy equals comedy.
Tragedy now. But I mean, when I think about it, though, it actually did take a couple years of me being through this to kind of, you know, like we were going through it for like 5 years, and the show kind of just came together in the last like 2 years. But also like I don't know if you'll find this to be true, but first off, it's kind of easier to write about one thing. Like I found that like just actually thinking about all the experiences was like, and then just essentially writing a script and punching it up was like a very different process, which I really enjoyed. Also, I think adding comedy to something that to trauma or whatever that people generally don't associate as funny, like, you know, feeling like you were in a religious cult, feeling like all this stuff, like you're going to find so many people that are like, that are going to appreciate you throwing humor to this. It's going to be really cool when you start putting this up on its feet. It's going to feel really good, and that's going to fuel you to go deeper and be like, what else can, if they liked this part of it, where else can how much deeper can I go with this that people that have experienced this will relate to, but also obviously making it funny so that people who have no idea what it is, that it will ultimately still be a joke, which is what we're trained to write. You know, what we're kind of like, it's going to be really cool writing it.
Yeah. No, I do agree that once you start out, focused on one topic, it makes it, whereas just doing regular stand-up, you're like, oh, is this funny? Is this funny? I should write a joke about this. It streamlines things. It makes things kind of easier in a way.
It does.
If it doesn't have to do with that topic, no, save it for something else.
Yeah, or you can tangent to jokes you have that bring it back.
Yeah.
You can pepper in everything you have, but it is kind of cool starting with one thing instead of. For me, I always found it hard to do an hour cobbling together my 30-second, 1-minute jokes. But then when I kind of made it when it was a story, and it was and I was talking about the process of it, I was like, shit. I was like, this is now it's almost too long. I just redid the show, and I told the guy running out, I was like, oh, it's 48 minutes. No, it's 58 minutes. It is 1 hour long. It's interesting to talk about once you kind of get going on the truth of it.
Yeah. I bet. So what you found, so you go to Edinburgh to do this show that you've been working on for how long?
I had been working on it since last October.
And the show is called Inconceivable, right?
It's called Inconceivable, yeah. And I'd been kind of done, I've been kind of doing IVF jokes for the past, since I've been going through it. So I'd kind of I had dabbled in doing some IVF jokes and some trying to get pregnant jokes, but I'd never put them all together in a lineup to make a full show. And so that all came together, last October. So, but I'd been probably doing jokes, for another year before that. So it's probably about a 2-year thing.
Right.
And I just redid it for the comedy festival. It was very ironic to do it in Scotland, where I found out I was pregnant on the 5th day that I was there. I'd done one show.
Wow.
I had done one show, and then I was like, okay, now I'm pregnant for the rest of them.
So kind of the point of the festival, correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't done it before, but you have this show.
Don't ever do it.
That's what I keep hearing, and I'm so glad, because I've been beating myself up for the fact that, because I keep thinking I have a fucking kid throwing a monkey wrench at things. I can't abandon my family for a month, but I feel like I should. To get a leg up in my career, I need to abandon my family for a month to live in Scotland. But no, it sounds
not
like
worth it.
That's great. I'm so glad. Like I said to Anthony, I'm very glad that you guys could be the guinea pigs so that I can save myself a fortune and my sanity.
Anthony. If you want to go, talk to anybody else. If you don't want to go, talk to me and DeVito. We will fucking be like, turn around, don't do it. And we lived together. We were it was we had to keep each other sane. And that part was really fun. If you could find a buddy to go live in Scotland with, just go do that. Don't perform at all. Just go live in Scotland with buddies.
Just have a brocation under the guise of
just do that.
Doing comedy. So you find out your 5th day in. So the whole point of the festival is you have this show, you have this thematic show, solo show, one-person show, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And the goal is to, I guess, kind of fine-tune this over the course of 30 days and really make it something that's really kind of solid. Which I'm sure over the course of 30 days, you're going to make some tweaks here and there. But I highly doubt... Right. But I highly doubt that you anticipated getting that news. And then how did that inform how you did the show the rest of the month?
So it was, and because I remember, and I was telling, DeVito and Gabe, who we were all living together, I kept being like, all right, on Monday we find out either we're going to be having a lot of beers or we're going to be eating a lot of food or something. We're celebrating, we're going to do, something's going to happen either way. And I remember just feeling so nothing that I took a test early, because it was Scotland had 2 beautiful days, and I was like, I just want to drink a beer outside, and it was positive. And so I just remember, I think I did the show, but it was so surreal because it had been so long that I literally saw, I think I looked at the test, because I had no symptoms. I had to carry these fucking flyers that you have to order. And the boxes were like 15 pounds. I wasn't supposed to be lifting anything. And we were staying in like a 4th floor walk up. And I remember like, I was like lifting these boxes being like, even if I am pregnant, I am ruining it right now. Like I was like, I traveled to a different country. Like, what do I do? Like the whole time I was like, I'm so not pregnant. So it took me a couple days to digest it. And then I had to take blood tests while I was there to kind of confirm it. So like I took 2 pee tests and they were both positive, but I still was kind of like, I don't know. And I still felt nothing. Like my tits couldn't have been less sore. They like, I felt nothing. Like my body felt like I was like nothing was happening. And then so once I got blood tests and I sent it to my doctor and he's like, this is good. And then I had to take another blood test so it took me a while to digest it and to actually come to terms with it. And then I think probably like the second week of shows, I might have said something at the end. If I liked the crowd, I would kind of say at the end, like, okay, this is what's happening now. Because I was also doing a pay what you want show. So a lot of times people were coming in free and you have a tip bucket. And when I started saying I was pregnant, they would just give me so much more money. So I just kind of like,
oh, wow.
I kind of had to, but I had a couple crowds that I didn't like where I just was like, and I have some embryos back home, bye, but yeah. I noticed that when I gave the reveal at the end, it was just like people's reactions and the feeling of the show changed drastically.
Yeah.
And so that was actually kind of fun. Like, it was so funny because the guys that came after me, they're like, why is everybody crying leaving your show? I was like, listen, I'm just that good, baby.
Because they threw all their money in the tip jar.
Yeah, because they threw all their blue money, the blue and purple fake fucking gross UK money at me. But no, so it took a minute and then I started to say it. And I think I just needed to also say it so that I could start believing it because it was so... Because you try for so long and then you pee on one stick and it's like, okay. And you're kind of like, so that's it? Like, it's been my identity. I was literally doing a show about this. Like, it's who I've been the last couple years. I've been trying to get pregnant and talking about nothing but. And now that I was kind of like, what the fuck what do I do now?
Right. Right.
It was very weird. It still feels kind of weird.
You got to lose the just change the title to conceivable.
I know. I've got to change this. That's also, I have to change my whole fucking act. I have to put everything in present tense. And I notice sometimes halfway through a set, if I tell people I'm pregnant, they like almost laugh less at the jokes afterwards because they start to be like, oh, she's going to be a mom. We can't laugh at these dick and cocaine jokes now. It just becomes kind of like people, it's been interesting playing with it.